hopefully if you time me, I can do it in 5 minutes. So I've got a couple of poetry books. One of them you've probably seen out the back there called Harvest Time Poetry. That's got one of my stories in. And my new poetry book called Road to Glory, which is not quite published yet. This is just the draft of it. And that's got another one of my stories in. And I've also got my phone. Can you get my phone out of the thing for the latest poem that I've just written yesterday? It's on the side there, Gracie. On the side of the book. On the side of my bag. I never let anyone through my bag. But here we are. I'll allow my granddaughter. Thank you, darling, because that's got my latest poem in it. And I've also got, for those who want to hear the full detail of the story, I've just written my autobiography called A Tale of 10 Towns, because I lived in 10 towns over the life, and each one of them had a different story. You notice different towns you live in, you have different stories, different aspects of learning about God. And I was glad to see Glenn talking about being a chaplain in the university, because it was at university in 1969 that I became an atheist after several years as a Sunday school teacher. So universities really do need prayer, because, you know, I was actually handed Mao's little red book when I got to university. Has anyone heard of Mao?
Yeah.
The oldies have, the young ones probably don't know who he was, but nobody gave me a Bible. But I was handed Mao's little red book, and before long I was a communist. Can you imagine being a communist? But that's what it was like, and that's a little bit of my story. Fortunately, by the age of 30, when Matthew was about 3 years old, I had been restored, came back to God, and my last job I had was as a chaplain, as a school chaplain. So I've been a pastor as well for some years, but my last job was as a school chaplain. So that's a little tiny thumbprint of my story. So I'm just going to read you a couple of poems now. And you can, by the way, God gave me the gift of poetry back in 1999. So I don't take any credit for any of these poems. I will take the blame if there are any problems, but it was a beautiful gift to have, because I used to be an English teacher, and I always loved poetry, but I never had poems until God provided it for me in a gift in a prophetic presbytery. Somebody said you're going to be writing poems, and it's going to be blessing right around the world. And as far as what Carol said as well, which was really nice to hear, because I've actually had a passion to take my poems out of Casino, where I live, and write around many places. You know, because you can tell your story through poetry if you're a poet, and you can get people saved. You can do so many things if you're a poet, because people are prepared to listen to something short. You know, that sometimes they don't want to listen to a full hour sermon, but you can hear a poem that says a lot. So anyway, back to my 5 minutes. Keep quiet, Wendy, and get on with the poem. It's always a good thing to talk. The one I've called my main one here that I think is my poem, my story in 2 pages. See if you can do your story in 2 pages of poetry. It's called The Prodigal. I was once a prodigal. I left my father's home, taking all my blessings. I then began to roam. 3 weeks at university, I left my faith behind and began the search for meaning and wondered what I'd find. There was a black hole out there. I skirted round its edge. I very nearly fell in, but hung on to its ledge. What was the meaning of this life? I searched with all my heart, tried lots of ways of living, and almost fell apart. The worldly ways gave quick thrills that didn't seem to last. They added nothing to my life, and thankfully they passed. So then I tried the new age to try and fill the gap. My brains were spent in learning as I fell into its trap. Anyone been there? It seemed so good and virtuous, with hopes of a better life, but really all it did for me was lead me into strife. Without a God to pray to, I needed to be strong, to make my own decisions, to find where I belong. With marriage and 3 children, I found I couldn't cope. Soon I fell into a hole and was left without a hope. Where was God, I wondered? Was he really true? I began to cry out, "Help, God, I so need you." The Father's arms were waiting. He listened to my prayer. He dried his tears and smiled, though I was unaware. He planted people in my path to help me on my way, and soon I found my place back home. It was like a brand new day. Woohoo! The angel shouted joyfully. My Father sang to me. His daughter had come home again, for I had been set free. Free to love and worship, to raise my kids with care. Aren't you glad I did that? To teach them all the ways of God and fill each day with prayer. I'm sorry that I left my faith. It caused me lots of pain. But if someone learns from this short rhyme, then it's all been for gain.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Good. Great poem, I love it. How many times can you tell your whole story in one poem? It's amazing. And I've got one, I used to be a radical as well at that time, so I had become a radical. I just want to tell you a short one I've got in my old book, From Protest to Prayer.
Oh.
I was a protester and a radical, okay. I was a protester long ago. We marched to stop the war. With banners high, we linked our arms and helped to change the law. We shouted peace, but knew it not. Our lives were full of zeal. We hated many things we saw. The world had no appeal. Then came marriage, work and kids. The protests had to wait. Our lives became a trial for us. The stress involved was great. What was the meaning of this life? I started on my search. I tried out many things and gods, then found myself in church. You can finish up my lines if you like. One day, to my surprise, I met the Lord of life. The peace he gave amazed me. He took away my strife. Now I'm marching yet again, yet with a different vision, to tell the world about the Lord. It's called the Great
Commission.
Jesus is the way, the truth and the life. He has things well in hand. We can change the wrongs we see by praying for our land. So come on, church, and rally round. Let's join in one accord. Link arms for this land we love, for Jesus Christ our Lord.